but you're going nowhere. Don't blame me for what you've done, 'cause I know that you were having fun.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast, exposing the real estate secrets your agent doesn't want you to know. Here's your host, Tom Clary.
Well, don't you just walk away. That's when I'll say.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast. I'm Tom Clary, and I'm your host. I'm a real estate agent here in the beautiful state of California, Los Angeles to be exact. I'm here with my constant co-host, Ron Bruno. How are we doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Tom. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, so what's new? What do we got? What's going on in the Bruno land?
Bruno land. It's just me and Gidget.
You and Gidget.
And Sedona.
I happened to notice on Facebook that you were going stag.
I was, yes.
Karen is not
bachelor
town.
weekend. Yeah, so Karen's she is in Disney World with her best friend Tiffany, and it's Tiffany's daughter Kennedy. And they are, Kennedy, she's in high school, she's like 15. She is competing in the national cheerleading competition.
Oh, interesting.
Representing Downingtown, Pennsylvania. Home of the Super Bowl winners.
Oh, yeah.
The
That was
Eagles.
something else that happened this week. We had the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I stayed home, ate lots of snacks,
Nice.
gained some weight.
There you go.
It was fantastic.
It was fun.
There was a couple of
It was a
really
great
good-
game. That was such a great game.
Oh, there was a game?
Yeah, there was a game.
Because I don't watch sports.
You just
at
just
all.
wanted to see the Amazon commercial.
I just
right?
wanted to see the commercial with David Harbour from Stranger Things. Everything's a Tide commercial. I thought that was the winner of the.
That was good. That was good.
Everything, and then after that, every single commercial that came up afterwards was like, "Is this David
My
Harbour
favorite.
going to show up?"
My favorite was the Dirty Dancing
Why not? Why
with Eli Manning and Odell Beckham
Yeah.
Jr. That to me was the funniast one.
What was funny, I was checking out Twitter during the game, just kind of checking it out, and somebody on Twitter was like, am I imagining things, or is anybody else seeing these commercials? Because it was like 3 or 4 commercials before
Right.
the big payoff, right?
Right.
And it didn't seem like they had any kind of purpose
Right.
whatsoever.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not having like some sort of aneurysm or something.
Right.
You're seeing these too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think it did have a pretty good payoff. But-
Yeah. I think so.
So we got any news today? What's the news?
We do. Yeah. So, and we recorded this one on today's Alexa, right? So we've got the Alexa skill, and
Get out there and enable the Alexa skill, folks.
Exactly.
Missing some good news.
The good news. So the news here is this is from Realtor.com, and it says gig economy grows up as lenders allow Airbnb income on mortgage applications.
That's fascinating.
It is.
It's an interesting move.
Well, what's interesting about it is
Now, you were saying before we got on this,
Yeah.
it's only refinances, though.
it's only on refinances.
Right.
Right. And so right now, if you own a condo or a home and you rent out an extra bedroom, because it is one unit, we cannot, as lenders, count any income from renting something out to a friend or
Right.
renting it out on Airbnb.
Right.
Right. So you can't count that. Right. So it only happens if you have a second unit or a third unit where it is a physical unit and you
Separate
have a
from the
rental
main
agreement.
house.
Correct.
Right.
So you have a rental agreement.
Right.
Right. And the way that we calculate income is we will, if you've owned it less than a year and you have a rental agreement in place, we will take 75% of the overall income, so of the monthly income, and that's the income that we use.
Right.
But if you've owned it longer than a year and you've reported it on your taxes on Schedule E,
Right.
then we have a whole worksheet.
Big part of it, though, right there.
What's that?
They reported it.
Reported it. Yes. If you don't report it, we can't count it.
Come on now.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So yeah, you have to report it.
Yeah.
Right. But that's if you have more units,
Yeah.
right? Just having a roommate and having them pay you doesn't count.
Right.
Right. Even if you own it. But with Airbnb, because they have this new technology and
They can track it.
they track it, right? And this is how they issue 1099s and the income at the end of the year to the tenant, to the owners
Right.
of the property.
Right.
So 3 lenders and Fannie Mae have agreed to move forward. So the 3 lenders are Quicken Loans, Citizens Bank, and Better Mortgage. Right, I've only heard.
By the way,
Quicken
I'm
Loans.
incredibly surprised that Fannie Mae is getting on board with this as quickly as they are.
Well, it's one of those things. So, obviously the goal of Fannie and Freddie and the government and banks in general is to make more loans, right?
Right.
And as rates go up and fewer people can qualify to buy a home or to refinance, the volume drops, right? And when volume drops, that's when people lose their jobs, and it's not a pleasant situation. So they start to loosen the guidelines if they make sense.
But they're but anything governmental, and I know that they're not necessarily. I mean, they're regulated, but they're not.
Of course, they're regulated.
They're not. They used to be government entities, right?
Yeah. So Fannie and Freddie, they existed as part of the federal government, right? So it wasn't an arm of the federal government, but they were set up to. Basically, they were backed by the federal government, right? So their job was to allow a platform where lenders were given standards, right? That's why they call it conforming to those standards, where we were, as lenders, we're able to then sell these loans directly to them, and then they can then, send it to a servicer, and they can buy the note, and that's how that whole piece works.
I guess what I'm kind of getting at, though, is whenever I think about anything that's sort of like that, even though it's a pseudo government entity, I don't think of nimble. I don't think of something that is
definitely not nimble.
Jumping onto bandwagons, and that they're getting involved with this in a timely manner. This sounds like something they would usually be doing 5-10 years down the line. And
they should have been doing this 2 years ago. Well, Airbnb's been around since 2008. However,
I'm giving them kudos. I do think it's not noble, but I think it's admirable that they're.
Well, and that's why they're testing it. They didn't just say everybody's allowed to do it. And that was one of the quotes that was in the article that I thought was very interesting. Is look, we recognize where everything is going now. It's this to turn our backs on this and to try and pretend like it's not happening. Right. It doesn't serve anybody's purpose. Exactly. And so the guideline is it's for refis only. Obviously, it's Fannie Mae. It's with these 3 lenders, so maybe Guaranteed Rate will jump on board. Hopefully, we will. But it also, you have to have owned the property for at least a year. Right. So it's not something you just turn on. Right. So if you're in the process of a refi and you're like, oh yeah, that other bedroom, we cleared that thing out.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. So you actually have to have a track record, and being able to use the income. The challenge they were saying in the article is that, if you have a vacation home in Aspen and you just happen to be living there and you're renting it out, and it has to be primary residence only, right? So that's the other piece.
Well, and I want to talk about that too, because think about it. If I'm running a successful B&B pretty much, you know what I mean? I'm full every night. I've got a great location and all that kind of thing. And I want to expand to the house next door. Why wouldn't you be able to? I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
You mean on a purchase?
Yeah. That would be an interesting next step I'd love to see the risk involved with that.
Possibly. I think the potential,
because if you have the track record, you have the track record.
Right. So using it as a second home. Yeah. Well, a second home,
or not a second home, but more of an investment.
An investment property.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So the challenge is, if you look at it as an investment property, there's already inherently more risk. Involved, right?
Yeah.
And you could say, we're going to. Well, with an investment property, you can count the rent.
Yeah. Right.
In the property you're buying.
Right.
But you can't count the rent in your Airbnb in your property that you are currently living in.
Yeah.
Right? Because at that point you're stretching too much. Yeah. And I think that is part of the problem.
Sure.
So I think they're creating it where you've got some structure. Yeah. So they don't allow everything through.
Of course.
To see how it goes.
Well, and I think it's the trial balloon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll start, figuring out all sorts of things. Finally, about time they start figuring them, because look, we do mostly these recordings inside of WeWork. We understand how it is such a freelance world nowadays for the most part, and how folks are going from gig to gig to gig. And the more that financial institutions can cater to them, the more that the agents like myself can, understand the specific needs that they have. It's starting to be something that everybody has to take into consideration.
Yeah.
I mean, you're either your own business owner and you've had it established or whatever, or you're doing, nobody gets a gold watch anymore.
No.
I keep on saying that. Nobody's getting a big old retirement check, every month. So,
Right.
Cool. Anything else?
No, I think it's good.
And that's it.
Yep.
All right. Well, cool. Well, we're here with Richard Hayes of G&G Granite and Quartz in Burbank, California. His company has done a lot of work in the TV and film industry. Maybe you've seen his work or his company's work on the F Word and on various Verizon commercials. He's an expert on kitchen remodels and installing countertops, and he's going to be talking with us about what different options you have when it comes to updating your kitchens, whether it's you want to do a complete redo or maybe just a facelift would be the best choice. So I'm very excited to have a chat with him today. Richard, so glad for you to be here. Thank you so much for coming.
Glad to be here, fellas.
Yeah,
Nice to be here.
You've greeted with gales of laughter outside in the hallway here
Yes.
Because we're all joyous that Richard is here.
It's applause for the podcast. Absolutely.
We have a laugh track? I didn't know that.
No, we just bring people down the hallway every 10 minutes, and
That's right.
we hope that there's something funny being said. So first off, whenever we have a guest here for the first time, we always ask the same exact question every single time. Where have you been, and how the hell did you get here?
Wow, that is an excellent question. I have been all over.
Yeah.
I started, first of all, we started G&G Granite and Quartz it was originally started by my partner about 20 years ago. And I came on about 6-7 years ago, and we partnered up. And before that, I worked in design. I had my own company called One Day Home Makeover, where we did a lot of renovation work.
I really want to go into that, by the way. That seems crazy interesting. The one-day makeover.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted, but go ahead.
And before that, I was in mental health. I worked for the Department of Mental Health as a behavioralist. So came from that background, and I decided that was too much, and I needed an artistic kind of outlet.
Right.
And that's where One Day Home Makeover came, and getting that kind of artistic passion in my work, where you can't really have that in mental health, is where it all started.
You want to be creative with the mental health field.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where it started. And one of the companies I worked with was my partner. With every project that we did required some kind of countertop work.
Yeah.
So I always worked with this one guy, and he was just the most reliable, incredible craftsman. And that's how we met. And we started doing a lot of projects back then together. And then so about 7 years ago, we decided, hey, he said, why don't you come in and let's do this together. And that's how we started.
That's
and,
awesome.
It's been great ever since.
So give me a little background and how you felt about that this was somehow letting you have an outlet for your creativity. How do you see that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Usually what happens is clients will come to you with an idea or a
Right.
plan. And a lot of times they don't know where to go with it.
Right.
So when you just sell, let's just say you have a slab yard
Right.
and you just sell stone.
Yeah.
Well, they're just people, and they pick something out and they leave.
Right.
Well, when I came on with the company, what we decided to do is being more of an integral role with the design and implementation
Right.
of the work.
So that's where the creativity
And
is
that's
really
where
coming in.
in the expression comes
Right.
from, because, and especially our return clients, we have a lot of return clients. We may do a kitchen, and then later on, a year later, they want to do the master bathroom,
Right.
or they buy another property.
Yeah.
So there's a trust element.
Right.
And you end up working with the same clients, and they trust you to pick palettes and colors and textures.
Yeah.
Well, Richard, what's the new thing?
Yeah.
What's going to be great in 10 years? And a lot of our clients are flippers.
Okay, so you do work a lot with the folks who are kind of investors who are going out there and trying to
Absolutely.
turn around stuff.
Absolutely. Property investors and flippers, they literally come to us every day because what they want to know is not what's hot now, what's going to be hot in 10 years.
Right.
Okay. Because the people who are buying these houses, some of them may flip it.
Yeah.
You know, or do something like that in a couple years.
Right.
And they don't want to have to go back and do it all over
Redo
again.
it all. Yeah.
Right. So they come to me and they come to us. Basically, they want to know a lot of our clients want to know what's cutting edge.
Okay.
And because they don't want to redo kitchens and bathrooms and countertops 3 times.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like a network of investors that they're literally flipping each other's properties.
Yeah.
And when you work with the same people all the time, they trust you that you're going to have the best ideas for that particular. And also to say that some houses are constructed a certain way.
Yeah.
Or lighting is a huge factor.
And I think it's something that's so left out of the process in so many. I have a friend who's his partner is significant. That's all he does is basically he's a lighting. I don't want to say lighting designer, but it's very kind of architecturally influenced because people think, oh, I just throw up a lamp. You know, I got something over here, you know, kind of thing. But, you know, if you have the right lighting in a space, it can change everything.
Everything. Literally, when I get asked, and this is almost daily, when a client, what they'll do is they'll email us at our website, and I'll mention it for your audience, which is ggranite.com. Mm-hmm. When they email their projects, we have a submission page. It's called a free estimate page. And they'll click on that and they'll go through the submission requirements that we need. But a lot of times they'll ask us, they'll ask me directly in the email, well, what do you think about which color should I use here and there and which texture? Mm-hmm. And the first question that I email them back or talk to them on the phone, I'll say, well, what kind of light does that room get?
Wow, so you start that early in the process.
That early. It really is like the first thing.
Wow.
And because what happens is there's certain countertop colors that are just, it can look like a morgue.
Yeah, right.
You know, it can, and it also depends on what side of the house or which facing. Because if we've done a lot of houses, let's say in Brentwood, like the Canyon area,
right, or
Benedict Canyon area, and they're kind of in this up Laurel Canyon.
Yeah,
they're in the canyon dark side,
right.
You know what I mean? And sometimes that really dark stain on the cabinets, dark stain on the floor,
it just feels like a black hole.
It feels like a black hole. So the first thing I will ask them is, what kind of light does that room get? And then they'll say, well, it's kind of dark. So that literally eliminates
a good portion of what you would be
70% of the option right there.
Right.
And then of course, a lot of times they say, well, I didn't even think about that. You know, so that's kind of what we do. We try to cater to moods, to light, to spirits of a house.
Right.
You know, what the flow of it.
It's so funny because it's interesting that you're taking such a holistic kind of look at the home, because that's even what I do when I'm listing is that I take a lot of agents are very concerned about, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, this many square feet, this kind of thing. I'm asking, what have you done in this house? What is the, when I'm going to sell your house, I want to kind of evoke an emotional response in the other people, and
Absolutely.
You're starting that in that process,
in the initial process.
Yeah.
Not to mention, we have a lot of investors now from China.
Really?
Yes, and a lot of their clients, basically, are people who are coming here for business, and they're staying longer than some kind of rental home or a hotel,
right.
and they're asking us to accommodate a feng shui.
So I was about to ask you that.
Yes.
So you guys have some sort of expertise in that, or you guys
we have experience in it now that you wouldn't believe.
Right.
Because there's a certain way from a lot of people from that particular part of the world. There's like a mandatory, they want 2 kitchens.
Interesting. 2 kitchens.
2 kitchens. The food preparation is just, it's done that way. So they'll have like a wok kitchen and then a traditional kitchen.
Interesting.
And there has to be a certain kind of detailed edge on the countertops for different rooms.
Oh.
And it's a more of a spiritual, metaphysical thing for them.
Oh, wow.
And it's absolutely required.
Wow.
And to go even further, they feel certain edges are like bad luck.
Yes. Now that I've heard. And
Yes.
Like things certain, facing a certain way.
Right.
Or no, not up against a wall or that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
when we're dealing with slab material, which we can get into a little bit, is the differences between prefab and full slab and detailed edges is.
Yeah.
And these particular customers, they want at least a dozen different edges on the countertop stone in one project in one house.
Right.
Which is absolutely way out.
Yeah.
It's way out. Most
Yeah.
people will choose to go with a certain kind of edge
And then
keep
be
that
consistent.
that theme throughout.
Right.
But we will actually do up to a dozen edges in one house.
Really?
Yes, with these new customers, a lot of these new clients from China.
Wow.
And it's amazing, and it looks really cool, and it actually it allows us to stretch our legs
Yeah, I can imagine.
creatively,
Right.
because some of the edges,
It doesn't get boring.
it doesn't get boring, and and there's edges that we do, and we can go over that for your audience, just kind of letting them know that you can choose edges and different types of edges in countertop stone.
Okay. Well, I want to get into that a little bit. We'll get into the
Sure.
all the kind of details of
Sure.
but I want to spend a little time here talking about the general kind of experience. And when you first began talking, and something that kind of struck me as very interesting is people wanting to stay on the cutting edge.
That's right.
Right. And before we turned on the mics here, you were chatting about how celebrities, basically for the most part, they don't want to do anything that anybody else has got.
Yeah.
They want to be one of a kind.
That's right.
And that's, I would assume, quote unquote, cutting edge.
That's
right.
right.
And then we chatted earlier, and you were talking about how that the cutting edge might be a little deceptive as well, in terms of you're getting dictated by what you're seeing on TV.
That's right. Absolutely.
And that's a huge deal too. So why don't you go into a little bit of that?
Sure, absolutely.
So what you're saying is that what you think might be like, well, that's in style, might be being force fed on you. Correct?
Absolutely.
Go into that a little bit.
Right. I call it what you have is you have kind of like an illusionist kind of force fed theme, and I think they're myths. And the myth right now is that new traditional countertop textures like quartz and things like that they're hot, they're durable, which is very true. But what happens is things like granite are traditional, but that they've been around forever.
Right.
And they offer beauty because they're natural and movement. So you have a lot of these television networks and these certain kind of DIY type shows, and I won't go into it, but let's just say you have investment in these man-made materials,
Right.
like quartz.
Right.
So but literally, let's say 70% of our clients who inquire, they say, "Oh, I have to have quartz. I can't do granite anymore."
Right.
And I call those myths.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And these are just very important that your audience knows that you don't have to do quartz because they tell you.
Right.
And you
Like
don't.
you're not keeping up with the Joneses if you don't have a quartz.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's all cyclical.
Right.
It's
Of
all
course.
cyclical anyway.
Right.
So what's hot now in 10 or 12 years, I think granite's going to be hot again then, because it's going to allow for natural
Yeah.
movement of the stone. And
When you say, explain a little bit of natural movement. What do you mean by that? Go into that a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. Well, quartz, now to be accurate, quartzite is a natural stone.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just make sure everybody knows that quartzite is a natural stone.
Right.
But what is called, or traditionally called,
What they're
quartz-
selling.
Right. What they're selling is quartz.
Quartz.
Which is man-made.
Man-made.
That's right. And it's man-made, so all your colors are going to be consistent and solid.
Right.
Or even if they have a man-made quartz, which is hot right now, which is man-made quartz that looks like marble.
Yeah.
We have on our website, ggranite.com, for those who don't know, we have a whole page dedicated to quartz that looks like marble, because it's just such in demand.
Right.
Everyone wants quartz.
It's not like you're not providing it if they want it.
Exactly.
But you're making sure that people are educated about their options.
Exactly.
And by talking about it like this, getting the word out there that, hey, listen, don't be just a follower.
Absolutely.
Think for yourself, and possibly, what do you think those celebrities are put? Do you think they're putting quartz in there?
They are.
Are they? But you're saying that they want to do something that nobody else wants to do.
Let me expand on that.
Yeah.
They are the business-minded ones.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you have celebrities or just true artists,
right?
Who they just want whatever is cool,
right?
And whatever is just imaginative and expressive,
right?
Right. And then you have celebrities that are just flat out businessmen and women.
They're looking to quote unquote flip. They're looking to sell it 5 years from now.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. Yeah.
And they want what's hot.
Now that makes sense. Right.
Right. So it's yes and no. But before we leave this point, what I wanted to say is, although you have this man-made material, which is quartz, and it's very hot right now, the way I predicated our business plan on and what we do at G&G is, regardless of what's trendy, we're set up to fabricate and install.
Right.
So it doesn't even matter to us whether a client is buying our material that we sell from our importers, or we're just doing the fabrication installation. And the reason I wanted to touch on that, it's very important because we're not pushing stone.
Right.
And I think that's a dangerous area.
Right. When
it comes to really being helpful to the
dangerous
consumer.
In what way?
Well, I think when you're a company, let's say for example, you're just a consumer and you want to get your countertops done.
Yeah.
When you go to a kitchen renovation company or whatever, it's important to know, where are they making their profit?
Yeah, right.
Are they making their money on the stone, or are they making their money on the installation of it?
Right.
And I think it's just very important. Also, we don't mark up the stone price.
Okay.
So our actual customers are getting wholesale every
So
time.
you're just really, it's about the installation.
It's about the installation.
And getting it ready, basically.
It's about fabricating it and installing it.
Right.
But the way the company was set up, and this was what I really wanted to impress on our customers, and I wanted people to have the option to know this. We don't even stress it, but we don't make money on the markup of the sale because I don't want to be influential in pushing people a certain way.
A certain type of,
that's right,
whatever that is.
Whatever it is. So we have stone that we have on site, but we also have, of course, a lot of samples from our importers.
Right.
But either way, it doesn't matter to us what the customer chooses. There's really nothing for us to gain more. And I think that allows us to be more trusted and be more artistically involved.
Right.
Because we can offer them anything.
Yeah.
Like this granite works for this particular project, or this quartzite works, and we're not pushing the client to buy anyone's surface.
Right.
And I think that really is advantageous for us because it allows us to have a certain trust with the customer that we're just going with what they really would like.
Tell me a little bit now, in terms of, it's so funny because I hear this very kind of in-depth, very caring kind of sounding process for you. And I love to hear, companies and craftsmen and people who come from that place, right? Because you don't want to hear like, hey, we do it best. And because we have good materials and and it's like, yeah, but this is somebody talking from their heart, and that always appeals to me.
Yeah.
But at the same point, I'm hearing that you did the one day home makeover. One day home makeovers. Which how can you put the two together at that point? How did you do that?
Right.
Were you able to?
Well, basically, what it was the very origin of it is I wanted a name for my company because I thought that there was no linkage between a contractor and a designer. Okay. So you either went with a contractor or renovator, or you had an interior designer.
Okay.
And at that point, maybe I was feeling a little cocky, a little arrogant.
It seems a bit.
I felt that the problem was the interior designers that I had worked with and knew, they didn't know anything about contracting and renovation.
And that's so dangerous, I think.
It is
that
dangerous
disconnect
because when you walk into a house and you say, oh, I think that we should have a bay window here, and we should have an.
It's a load-bearing wall.
Exactly. It should be open here.
Right.
An open floor plan is just
Yeah.
really marvelous.
Oh, everybody loves an open floor plan now.
And they're not looking at what's available to that
Right.
house. Every house is going to tell you what it can do and cannot do.
Right.
And if you don't know that,
Yeah.
you're gonna design up a disaster.
Yeah.
And I felt I was, kind of cocky. I felt and I felt that contractors were also kind of, I'm not gonna say charlatans, but it seemed like the ones that I knew, all they wanted to do was tint your house and hold it hostage for 6 months.
Well, and that's the thing, and boy, I'll tell you, the contractors have the worst reputation.
They do.
And if you ask people like, what do you hate about contractors?
Mm-hmm.
For 9 times out of 10. Well, I'm going to say that it's between two things. Number one, it's the thing, prices keep on going, things keep on getting added. That's one thing that people would say that's a negative. The other thing is, God damn, that takes so long.
Yeah.
It takes so long.
Right.
And like, why aren't they working?
Right.
They should be here.
Right.
But,
Hence, one day home makeover.
well, and I can really, if you
Right.
told me I could do it all in one day.
Right. And what it was basically was a lot of my designer friends and just colleagues were all real estate agents.
Yeah.
And they really wanted something where they can just get it done.
Yeah.
And that's where facelifting started.
Right.
Okay. So basically I had a crew, okay, of I had a flooring guy
Right.
we would do basically laminate flooring.
Okay.
Okay. I had a painter, great painter, an artist. And I had some countertop guys. Gagik, my partner now.
Right.
So basically what we did is we did all the prep work.
Right.
And the one day was the actual installation kind of.
Got it.
The painter would come in there in the morning, spray. The flooring guy would go down. And they obviously were smaller spaces.
Yeah.
And were not like huge houses. So that's where it all came from. Like we would just kind of get everything ready, come in there one day, boom, 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 and move on to the next. So it was kind of like a play on words.
Yeah.
Technically, it wasn't all one day, but it was what we were doing was stressing the efficiency of not holding hostage a property.
Well, and I think this kind of leads to the other topic that I kind of wanted to move into, which was, and something we when we first started having conversations about getting together and doing this episode, that you have a very interesting take on kind of looking at a home like an investor, right? And
Absolutely.
even if you're coming in as just a regular buyer.
That's right.
And that, a whole kitchen remodel may not be, and we talked about this, and Ron, you can come in here. We were talking about this an episode or two ago, maybe 3.
Yeah, there was a CNBC article that was talking about, when you're doing renovations on your home, and if the goal is to add value, that you want to make sure that, for certain things like a kitchen, you don't go crazy, right? So
if you're completely redoing it,
massive kitchen remodel,
there's a good chance that somebody might walk in and go, well, I don't want that.
Yeah.
So minor kitchen upgrades actually have a higher return on investment than a major overhaul.
So, and is that kind of what we're chatting about here? I mean, is that kind of what we're
Absolutely.
talking? So not a complete redo of the kitchen.
Well, what it is, it's called One Day Home Makeover. Basically, was a concept for facelift.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And facelift is the
Tuck
term.
here, a tuck there.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
A facelift in renovation or design is the term. That is what it's all about. And what I started a list of what we would call do's and don'ts. And
Go into that. What is that?
okay, a facelift do or don't is something as simple as changing knobs on cabinet drawers.
Right.
Knobs and hinges.
Right.
If you walked into a house right now, and let's say it's the house from the 70s, 80s, whatever, a little older, the bones of the cabinetry and the drawers could be great, but the hinges and knobs, those little things, are just outdated and old. So you could literally walk in and change the knobs and hinges and the locks and the hardware on the doors.
Right. So it's kind of a minimal investment for maximum impact.
That's right. And that's called a facelift.
Right.
And as well as paint.
Right.
Just slap on paint.
Right.
You know what I mean? Changing. And we would stress to a lot of our customers to stick neutral
Yeah.
colors, because you don't want to ruin things where you don't know what the the home potential home buyer is going to see or want when they come in. So you keep it neutral. But it was a list of what to do and what not to do. And some of the things that were not to do is when you start tearing out walls and changing all the windows.
And by the way, and you spoke about the interior designers coming in and kind of making these grand suggestions.
These grand sweeping
I have
changes.
Heard agents doing the same exact thing.
Exactly.
Where it's literally like, this is look, and this really comes down to the kind of agents I despise who are basically trying to get the sale at any cost. Like,
that's right.
They want to minimize the amount of houses that the people visit, right? Mm-hmm. So they'll find like ways like, you don't like that wall there? Yeah. Oh, that's why you don't want this to buy this house? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, no problem. Mm-hmm. You can just blow that out. Exactly. And then next thing you know, yeah, you maybe could, but it's going to cost you more than you ever expected. Right. And, it's just...
And who are you trying to serve here?
Right, exactly.
Who are you and that's what I think that we built up quite a fan base in one day home makeover. And just with the conceptual, the concept of what we were trying to do is it was really to help people save money.
Yeah.
So when I started speaking to investor and property groups, I would take my do's and don't list and say, do this, but don't do that.
Right.
If you're flipping a house or you're looking as a property investor,
right,
these are the things that you want to do, and these are the things you want to stay away from.
Right.
And that's how this all started.
Right.
So coming to G&G Granite and Quartz, I kept that with me.
Right. It was
right. So it's
useful no matter where you are.
No matter where you are, and it's also inclusive to our clients. They get a lot of that information just buying stone. I'm helping them to say, hey, you know what? You don't have to do X, Y, and Z. You could just do this. If you want to save money, you can do your own demolition.
Yeah. And by the way, let me stop there for just one moment.
Sure.
But they can get themselves into trouble, though, too.
Sure, they can.
If just ripping out things and
But a lot of our customers, they have time. They're retired.
Right.
They have a background.
And especially investors. We're not talking about Joe Blow who just bought the house or something
exactly.
like that.
A lot of our clients have a background in carpentry and things like that. And I just believe in giving clients options to save money.
Right.
And one of the things we do at G&G that I feel just helps the consumer out so much is if you find a slab or stone somewhere else, that's great. We'll go pick it up.
Really?
We'll pick it up for free. We'll bring it back and we'll fabricate and install it for you.
Wow.
So we're giving our clients the opportunity to buy their own stone. As a matter of fact, I encourage it. If you see stone somewhere you just love, get it.
Wow.
Purchase it. And if we can get it there's certain places they may go. Like, for example, Caesar Stone or places like that, and they can't purchase it because they don't purchase it residentially. You have to have a fabricator buy it.
Right.
We'll go get it for you.
Interesting.
We'll go get it at our price. Wow. And there will be no markup.
Right.
And I think what our philosophy is making not only customers happy, but just making friends for the future.
Well, that's our philosophy here too.
We want to make people happy because this it never stops.
Right.
I
don't want this transaction. I want your life.
Yeah.
I want that you would constantly come back to me and say, even if it's not about buying a house or something like that, I want you to be like talking to me, and I know a guy.
Yeah, I get emails every day. Richard, we're thinking about doing the master bath. What should we do?
Right.
What should we stay away from? What material is really cool?
Right.
You know what I mean? And we, since we do shower walls and all this kind of stuff,
right.
Granite is really hot, in my opinion, right now, to take advantage of the fact that there's certain granite yards where they'll give it to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like more, who would have ever thought that, like, when I think about even back to the crash where everybody was, kind of mocking granite countertops. Everybody had a granite countertop. And, everybody needed a McMansion with a granite countertop and all that kind of thing, right? But everything is old that's new again, number one. It looks beautiful. And then the next thing is that now you can get more bang for your buck, I would assume, right? Because it's not as in demand.
And right now, I give you an example. I did 3 estimates this morning for outdoor barbecues.
Wow.
People are already getting ready for the summer.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And here's the thing. You can't use quartz
Outside. Oh, really? Because they're not weather resistant.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
You can't use it outside. So you have, I mean, they're literally $2,000 slabs of granite that right now can be had for $700-800.
See, that's the thing, right? I mean, it's really about giving the most value.
Absolutely. And what about your shower walls?
Right.
These beautiful showers, you want movement.
Yeah.
You know, you want movement in there.
Yeah.
You don't want such a sterile kind of white, super white surface all the time.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So right now...
And by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but
sure.
That's such a... I was talking to somebody the other day about, that kind of feeling of like, this ultra modern kind of look, kind of box, kind of thing. It's like, I was talking to our good friend Ian Mayer, the inspector, and he was doing an inspection at like this $14-15 million house, and he said it was a box. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the thing is, these people are building these right now is popular with this kind of very
well, the minimalist
minimalist
is really hot right now.
But that's the thing though is I look at those pictures of those places and I say, God, that's beautiful. I wouldn't want to lay down on that bed. I wouldn't want to sit on that
or
chair.
have you seen a kitchen you wouldn't want to cook in?
Well, that's the thing,
because you don't want to mess anything up.
Exactly. And
you're afraid to get any kind of dirt or grease on the backsplash. Because you're like, oh no, I have a $40,000 Viking stove.
At what point
I don't want to use it.
Do you feel like you're living in a museum instead of a home?
Right.
And that's where I mean these kind of things are kind of that movement that you're talking about. I'm assuming that means like the grainy kind of grain.
The movement is just these are all natural rocks. Right. And movement is just the way the color pattern goes. One thing about granite, there are not two slabs alike.
Right. It's like a fingerprint, right?
Exactly. So when you're dealing with quartz, for example, every slab of quartz in a particular color or style is exactly the same.
Right.
They're mass produced that way. Every last one, even the ones that are supposed to show movement, they don't change the computers. They're not algorithms to change the flow of each particular slab.
Right.
They are exactly
in
the
there.
same.
That's how it's in the mountain.
Exactly. So when you're dealing with quartz slabs that are supposed to look like marble, it's great, but every piece is the same.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
like a pattern.
It's a pattern, and because of the expense, they don't change it.
All right.
They're just cranking those puppies out.
And
they do look good, and it is a durable surface. But it just, I think that you can be kind of brainwashed into thinking that that's the only way to go.
And just to be clear, it's not that you don't install that. It's not like you're trying
we install right now. 70% is quartz. And of that looks like marble.
Right.
But the thing for us, it doesn't matter. Our profits are still the same.
Right.
So all I do is just offer clients just an opportunity to step back.
Well, to keep an open mind.
And keep an open mind, and also think cyclically. What's going to happen in 5 years, because what you're going to see, because we work with a lot of home builders too. We work with home builders, and we work with giant developers that build these giant condo complexes.
Right. You were telling me like the Pegasus you sat down.
Pegasus. I did a lot of work there. Used to work for it. And you'll find what happens in these large places is, okay, well, 5 years, someone looking to rent is going to get sick of seeing exactly the same thing they saw everywhere else. So when, I do have clients that are builders and developers, and we do have talks in discussion, like, Rich, what do you think? I'm saying, hey, here's another thing really quickly. All granite is not super busy.
Right. No, you can get some that's subdued.
There are pieces of granite that we've had clients think are quartz. And then it's like, no, that's granite. So if you're going for something that's not super busy, that was initially why quartz was developed.
Right.
Because it was a solid surface that you could build backsplashes off with really colorful backsplashes. They wanted a less busy countertop space.
Right.
And I love that. I think that's the reason for it.
Right.
But it just kind of took on its own life. So where you're having this kind of sterile, kind of generic look everywhere.
Right.
But it just why not look at granite too?
Yeah.
And things like that. And because a lot of granite is not busy. But it doesn't matter to us, but we want people to have the options.
So when you're talking to someone who is just a general, Sally and John home buyer, and you come in and talk to them, and you're doing your consult with them, and is there a threshold that where you go, you might want to just do a facelift, or there's a threshold where you say, you know what, you may want to take it to the next level? And what is that threshold? What do you consider to be that?
Absolutely. What I would do is when they're telling us basically who the client is. Yeah. Is the client a flipper, or are they putting down roots? Yeah. Are they planning on
they're going to be there for 20 years.
For 25 years.
Yeah, right.
That's the first thing we want to find out.
Right.
Because a lot of times if you're going to be there, I had a client last week and I asked her, she said, well, I like this color, but I don't really know. And I read, and also really quickly, there can be too much information sometimes.
Oh, really? Go into that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What do you mean by that?
When you go online and you Google surfaces or granites or quartz, there's a lot of clients that come to us right now. They're overly informed.
Okay.
Meaning like there's so much information that came in, nothing is coming out.
Right.
Like their wires are all crossed.
They literally have like a Pinterest board of 5,000 things.
5,000. And literally, I get this question at least twice a week.
Right.
Does this surface hold up to fire like a torch? Literally.
Are you putting it?
No, I'm not kidding. And I have clients
for all these creme brulees you're going to be making
on the counter.
On the counter.
And I literally at least 2 or 3 times a week, I jokingly say, well, is this a fraternity or some kind of motorcycle biker gang? What's going to go on in this house?
Are you doing medical experiments or something like that? What are you doing with a Bunsen burner or something?
Yeah, they'll say, well, I read that this surface marble. One of the things is marble. We can't use marble anymore.
Oh, now go into that. Why?
That's even bigger.
So go into that. Why is that?
There has been this influx of information. I'm going to just go out and say it. Yeah. It's from quartz companies.
Okay.
They're like literally using bots or people to go around these message boards and tell people you shouldn't use granite and marble anymore.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely.
Wait, go into that. What does that mean?
Well, it's just...
So, like, are you talking about these Russian bots that everybody's talking about?
I literally believe, yes.
Really?
I believe it is because...
Wow, misinformation.
Because there is so much information out there on how bad granite and marble is.
I think we've uncovered a vast conspiracy here, Ron. I didn't know that.
It's like the quartz mafia.
Yeah. I mean, because it just, when you get these questions every day, you start to wonder, where is this coming from?
Right. I mean, and it's consistent almost. You're getting the same question over and over.
You're getting the same...
how interesting.
And you're getting the same comparisons. If you go to our website and you look at our archives and our blogs, there's actually something I put up there where it's a torch and a torch test. Okay. Someone with a blowtorch is burning a piece of granite and burning a piece of quartz.
Okay.
Literally, I had to post this and blog this.
And link to it.
Yes. It's on our blog at G&G Granite Quartz, ggranite.com. And what it is, it's showing people that granite doesn't burn and
That's
quartz
so interesting.
does. And that's basically to dispel these insane myths that somehow granite is like
flammable
corrugated cardboard.
Right.
And
it's just waiting to burst into flames.
Just waiting to burst into flames or fall apart like butter brickle or something.
Wow.
And it literally it comes so often that I know it's not organic.
Interesting.
That it has to be planted because it's all the calls and the emails we get. Well, I know we can't do granite because it's not durable. Like, what? Have you gone to Yosemite or have you ever went hiking? What do you see?
Right.
What are you walking on? Right. What are these mountains made of?
For millennia.
They're made of granite.
Yeah.
And we were told that we can't use it.
Who? That's so weird.
It's literally a constant.
Have you thought about going like on a hunt to find out the root of where
it's everywhere.
Patient zero?
It's everywhere. Literally, it's like an intent to change a consciousness.
Wow.
To build in people's minds that marble and granite is no longer durable.
That's crazy.
And that you have to go with these synthetic surfaces. Wow. And if you think about it, I mean, and I'm not a conspiracist kind of personality. I really am not. But it just becomes too ridiculous.
Wow.
When you're constantly having to email and tell people that, yeah, it's okay to use granite in the kitchen. Or
they've only been doing it for
to launch in a space or whatever. I mean, it's just, it gets really, you have to wonder, and then you start to know when they're watching all these shows, these programs, the companies that own these shows are invested in the chemicals that they use to manufacture this stuff.
Right.
And that's
watch the commercials in between the Property Brothers.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And then you have to, I mean, it's like follow the money, right?
Yeah.
Well, if everyone's told to buy quartz, well, who's profiting from it?
Right.
And we're not going to go all into conspiracies here, but it just it's just mind-boggling that in marble will etch, okay, and marble can stain. Now, if you leave a cranberry juice on it for 6 months, you guarantee it that marble will stain.
Right.
But who does that?
Right.
You know what I mean? If somebody gives you a
haven't been
slab
around my
of
house,
marble, you use it. You know what I mean? You put it in there.
Yeah.
Now, mostly bathrooms are marble a lot. Kitchens less because they can't etch and stain. But people are actually treating these materials like they're cheese or something.
Right.
Like they're that soft and porous.
Wow.
And it's just a lot of misinformation out there. But we just want our clients to just be educated and kind of give them options. And once you tell people, they feel comfortable. They're happy you told them.
Ron, you got something?
Yeah, so I saw this on an episode of Shark Tank. So my wife, Karen and I, we were watching Shark Tank, and they had this guy, and he was selling these butcher blocks, right? And he was from Vermont, and he had these blocks. And Lori Grenier, who's one of the hosts on the show, she said, there's this new trend going towards antimicrobial, right? So they said, because it's wood and it's not necessarily antimicrobial, is that actually going to hurt your sales? So I'm just kind of curious to see, from a bacteria standpoint, how does quartz and marble and granite, how do they all compare?
That's an excellent question, Ron, and that came up 2 days ago. Butcher block project. We don't work with wood in that way. We do obviously the plywood underneath, but it is porous, and bacterial does live and breed there. And we do get that question. I never recommend wood. I think it's also something that looks cool sometimes. But it's just really not very practical, and it's just not very effective for anything because it does etch, it does the microbial elements of it.
Well, that's the wood part. So that's wood. But what I'm saying is, what about quartz and
like those actual
and granite, the actual countertop?
Right.
So if I have a piece of chicken and it spills over,
right? Which one's more porous than the other?
Right.
And I'm sorry, that gets brought up constantly. It's all the same. I really can't say there's any. I mean, if
you don't think it's any kind of identifiable
absolutely
difference.
Not. No, if you got out a microscope or something and you did some kind of science experiment, something would be more porous than the other.
Right.
But generally, it's all because you have to remember, quartz is supposed to be the most durable when it comes to germs and all that kind of stuff. But granite, it's sealed as well. So when we install granite, there's a sealant that goes over it that we spray on it.
How long does that last for?
You keep it up every 2-3 times a year.
Oh, so you kind of keep it a regular kind of thing.
You go to your grocery store, they have granite sealer in a spray bottle.
Got it.
So I mean, if you're,
I'm sorry. Back to quartz. You said quartz is supposed to be. Is that quartz or quartzite?
No, quartz.
Okay.
It's supposed to be the most
like
germ friendly,
germ resistant,
rather. Right. Yeah, sure. But if you're, you would have to literally do some kind of science experiment to find out how you can, which one of these can host germs better than the other.
It's not exactly a petri dish.
No,
either.
it's
not like you're growing penicillin.
Absolutely. And like I said earlier, is the question where, oh, this one will etch. What are you doing on the surface? Are you carving your name in it like a tree?
Right.
You know, to etch these things, you've got to take effort.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's one of the things too. But it's okay. I mean, these questions come and people should have questions and they should do research.
Yeah.
But I think it's like anything, because you can psych yourself out.
Yeah.
You know, and give yourself too much information. And as I say, literally twice a day, what looks best to you?
Yeah.
What do you feel, Pat? What inspires you when you look at it and you walk in your kitchen or your master bathroom to relax?
Right.
You know, what makes you feel comforted and soothed?
Right.
Or in the kitchen motivated?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
These emotional reactions are to color and surface.
Right.
And I say that's what you go with.
Right.
More than anything else. Now, unless you're a flipper, you want something neutral,
Well, of course.
and durable.
Right.
You know what I
To
mean?
not offend. You want to get your widest audience possible.
That's right. And,
Right.
But then again, if you're a flipper as well, you got to think, okay, what about 3-5 years
Yeah.
when Granite comes back around? You don't have to get super busy Granite.
Right.
You can get very, very simple.
So it pleases everybody.
That's right. And also,
and it might be better for your bottom line if you're going with granite
there
that
you go.
looks
There-
not zany. You don't want a crazy granite.
There's granites that look just like quartz.
Yeah.
And you can save
Wow.
40, 50, 60% right now because nobody's buying it.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So it's out there, and more importantly, one thing I want to point out is you want to make sure this stuff is getting machine tooled,
Okay.
machine cut versus hand tooled.
Oh, okay.
That's huge.
Okay.
Huge,
Why?
huge. First of all, there are no straight lines in the world, literally in construction. So no wall is going to be straight.
Right.
So when you get something hand tooled, if you have seams, when you have seams going together, they use like a glue, a colored glue, which looks terrible.
Right.
When you get something like we only machine.
Right.
So if something's machine, when you put it together, it looks like that line's not even there. That's the whole point of it.
Got it.
And you want to always, wherever fabricator they go with, you want to find someone who's using machines. Hand tools are terrible for surfaces. They are not to be used. When you're making little adjustments, when we make them at installation, we'll do some little adjustment work. But when you're getting your stuff cut, it has to be machine tooled. Absolutely. I would ask any fabricator to make sure that they're machining your material. Absolutely. Because what happens and I don't know how much time, and I don't want to go into a long story, but there's a certain part called Stevenson Ranch of Los Angeles.
Right. Up in Santa Clarita.
Right. We started getting calls. Our granite is splitting by the sink.
Oh.
Okay, fine. We'll go and replace it. Then we got another call, and we found out that the houses are kind of twisting, you know.
Oh, because it was built on a landfill.
That's right. So those houses are all twisting.
Interesting.
And because a lot of that stuff was hand.
Oh, yeah. So
okay.
Not a lot of room for error there.
That's right. So when they're twisting,
yeah,
the seams are coming literally apart.
Wow.
So that's one thing that can happen with machines and hand tooled stuff. It can be critical if there's opposing pressures on the house and any kind of twist or movement.
Interesting.
And so Stevenson Ranch became huge clients for us. Just one call after the other.
Wow.
You know, because there's a lot of movement going on.
Interesting.
In that particular area. And the one other must I wanted your audience and your listeners to know is find out too if they're paying a markup on imported stone.
Okay.
If you go to a fabrication place, they're ordering your stuff,
Yeah.
what are they marking it up?
Yeah. Right.
You know, it's important.
It might be significant.
It may be something to ask.
Yeah.
Because if you're paying, you know, if our clients are paying $5,000-$6,000 in stone, well, what are we going to mark it up for?
Right.
You know, and if, you know, we don't feel we need to. So they're just paying what we pay at a wholesale price.
Right.
So I think that's something just to ask. You know, if you go to a place and, hey, are you guys marking up as well as fabricating and installing it?
Right.
Because if not, you can buy it yourself and have them pick it up. You know, and that markup can be thousands of dollars.
That's a huge difference.
It is a huge difference.
Yeah.
And fabricators, a lot of fabricators and installers, they usually mark stuff up, but we don't. And it is something that you can ask. It is legitimate. to ask about. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we are kind of at a point where we're kind of time to wrap up. A lot of great information. I'm, it's always amazing when I start sitting down with folks like yourself, and I'm kind of, like, oh my gosh, is there enough here? And God, this has just been a wealth. And I think that we haven't even scratched the surface. Speaking of scratching surfaces, but I'd love to have you back some other time and chat even more about this. So, and also about your wealth of knowledge about just renovations and remodeling as well. So,
absolutely, would love it.
Why don't you go ahead and give everybody your contact info so that everybody has it?
Sure. The company is G&G Granite and Quartz, and you can email directly me, Richard, at ggranite.com. Our website is ggranite.com, and for listeners to the podcast, it's 15% off.
Oh, listen to that. That's our first discount deal, dude.
I like it.
I'm going to put it out. That's going to be all over social media.
If you email us your project, because we do have a free estimate submission page, just mention the podcast. It's 15% off of your project.
Sweet. All right. Well, listen, guys, you get on those phones now.
Exactly.
What are you waiting for?
Right.
Yeah.
Come to ggranite.com, mention the podcast, 15% off.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I had a blast. Thanks, guys.
Great. Well, that's about it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them for us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Clarified Realty Podcast, all one word. If you have any questions about real estate, or you're just looking for someone to help you buy or sell a home, remember, I'm actually a licensed real estate agent. I'd love to help you out, so please email me directly at tom@clarifiedrealty.com or give me a call at 818-335-7662. Don't be shy, guys. Come on, give me a ring. For more exclusive bonus content and advice between episodes, please check out our website, www.clarifiedrealty.com. Also on our homepage, you'll find links to helpful buyer and seller guides that can give you some really great information for starting your home buying or home seller process. So definitely check those out. Here's something we're always very proud of. We have a top-ranked Alexa skill. So search the Alexa store for the Clarified Realty Podcast, add our skill to your daily briefing, and get a dose of real estate news and tips every day of the year. Definitely give it a try. It's pretty darn cool, don't you think, Ron?
I agree.
All right, awesome. And I'm on Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram as well. My handle for all three of those are @Clarified Realty. Please leave feedback and reviews on iTunes or in the comments section on our page. Together we're stronger, folks. So if you have any questions or ways that we can make this podcast better, please let us know. My amazing theme song, Hey Now, is from the band Wolf. That's Wolf with 2 Fs. And please go like them and check them out on SoundCloud. And just a little fine print here, my brokerage is Keller Williams in Encino, Sherman Oaks. I'm licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate, and my license number is 01715353. Ron's is
NMLS, guaranteed rate 2611, NMLS ID 558706, California and Texas.
The advice we give is only for properties located in the state of California. For all other states, please contact your local real estate agent or real estate professional. Well, that's about it, Ron. You all good?
Yeah, I'm going to go out and buy some granite.
Let's go get some granite right now. There's a discount, folks. Thanks for coming by, everybody. Remember, the greatest thing you can ever do is make someone feel at home. Take care, and we'll see you next week.